Okay, so we're finishing up this coin catching game. So far, we've made it so that the bunny can move, so that the coin is coming down at a random location, and once it gets to the bottom, it's then going back up to the top. But that's kind of as far as we've gone up to this point. So what you're doing today is you're finishing up just the last kind of final details of the game, and that we're going to change the speed in which the coin is coming down, and we're going to give some points when we catch the coin. So on here in our workspace, if we haven't done the previous lessons, then obviously on puzzle 11, nothing's going to be there because it's all from what we did before. So you need to make an if statement and use the is touching block to increase the score when the bunny catches the coin. And then you're going to call the function to reset the coin once it's been caught. You don't want the coin to continue going as you're giving the score, because then you just keep getting more and more and more points as it goes down. So in our draw loop here, underneath our if coin is greater than 400, we're going to put another if statement, and this is where we're going to use the is touching thing. So we go to if the bunny is touching, so that's going to be under sprites, our is touching here. So we're going to say if bunny dot is touching the coin, then what we're going to do is we're going to set the coin. And so we go to function, and we're going to reset the coin. Now, we could change the speed at this point when we get the point. But I would say you should change the speed anytime it gets reset. So whether or not you miss it or you actually grab it, you should randomize the velocity, and we'll do that inside of the function. But we also want to add points to our score. So in a variable, we're going to say equals score equals score plus 1. So now when we actually get the coin, it's going to give us a point, and then it'll display the points that we have here on the screen. So in here, we've got coin.velocity y equals 5, so we're just going to change it to be a random number, and we're going to make it between 3 and 15. So they said a range that you think is fun. So let's see if between 3 and 15 is fun. Okay, so going a little quick, we got one. We missed it. Oh, it slowed it down. Now we'll be able to get this one. And bada bing. Something you could do as well to make this a little more fun and challenging is shrink the size of the bunny. I mean, the bunny's taking up like a third of the screen, so it should be pretty easy to be able to get to the coin no matter where it's coming down. So then, once you're done with this particular puzzle, what you're going to do is move on to the one doing the background. And so this one's a little more difficult in the fact that you've got to change the background that you're being displayed. So once you've caught 10 coins, it's time to celebrate. You should change the background to be something fun. So you're going to use an if statement and two separate functions to draw your backgrounds. So this is going to require a little bit more work, of course. So we've got to do two more functions. So we're going to take a function for our normal background. So we put it down here. And then we need another function for the silly background. So we're going to put it down here. Okay, so function boring background, and then function silly. Silly, not 3 Y's, silly background. Okay, so your boring background is going to be pretty much what you've been doing up until this point. So background white.
Go on to the next one.
So I can just take this down here and put it in with my boring background. Silly background, we can do something kind of crazy. We could do like neon yellow or something like that. So we just say yellow. If you want to add other things to the background to make it look a little more interesting, you can put like some random ellipses and rectangles in here. So we say ellipse and rectangle. And if you really want it to kind of pop and be crazy, then you can change the fill colors of these to be randomized as well. So if I put a fill here, and then I put a fill here, and then instead of putting yellow, I'm going to put in some random numbers. So remember, you can put in RGB values for your fill. So if I put in random number, which we got to go to let's go to the text here. Okay, so there we go. Random number, 0 and 255, 0 and 255, and then finally my third number, random number, 0, 255. Okay, and that's going to make an actual pretty big ellipse. So let's make that a little smaller, and we'll make sure we know where it's actually being put. So the ellipse, we got x, y, and then width and height. So x we'll put at 300, y we'll put at like 15, and then I'll make it 20 by 20. And so we can just test this by just calling the silly background to see kind of what it looks like. So if we put that in here, say silly background. Okay, so we run it, and you can see here's my ellipse that's giving me this random color here. And you can see the square that I put is really big and right dead set in the center. And so I can just copy this ellipse and put it in a bunch of different locations and have them blinking on these random numbers like that to have my silly background. I can also make my rectangle quite a bit smaller. So let's just say I'll put my rectangle at say 100, and then we'll make the y at 150, and then we'll make it 10 by 15, and then we'll see what that looks like. Okay, so that puts that over there. And of course, I want to change it not to be yellow, but instead let's make it orange, just because we want to have like a silly background here. So you can kind of test what the background looks like at the beginning and kind of get it looking like you want it to look. And then what you're going to do is you're going to change your code up here as it says using your if statement, and you're going to check the score. So you're going to say there's going to be an if else here. So we put the if else in like so, and then we're going to say if the score is greater than 10, then we do our silly background. So I just click on this thing here and drag it in here. And so then I say if score greater than 10, I do my silly background, else I'm going to do the boring background, which is going to be in here. Okay, so as soon as that decides it's going to put in place, boring background. Okay, so then when I reset and I run, you can see I've got my boring background, and it'll stay boring until I get myself 10 points. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Almost there. You can also check this a little quicker by setting the initial score to be like 7 or 8, so you don't have to go through and try to get all 10 before you're able to get the background to change. 9, 10, and 11, and there's my background. So if you want it to actually be changing on 10, then you got to set score is greater than 9, and that will get it for you. So hopefully this helped you kind of see how to do the transition, this last part of the puzzle. Make some other modifications, I guess, make it look pretty, and then submit it. And hopefully you guys figure this out, and yeah, looking forward to seeing your games.